We are Group 3 of the Human Agency Studio, focusing on the Hope Baptist Church node as identified in our larger group presentation. We will be focusing on the current role of the church and challenge the existing condition through our value proposition. We have broken our presentation down into its introduction, looking at key principles informing our value proposition, the context and stakeholders, and then we move into our analysis of identified opportunities and constraints, our problem statement, the relevant systems and role players, a precedent to guide us in introducing our proposal, and then finally we will unpack the proposal and how it translates spatially. Branching off of the main principles discussed in our larger group presentation, we wish to focus on the concept of moving from use to recovery, whereby circular economic strategies such as refurbish, repair, and reuse are filtered through a lens of recontextualization. The system at play becomes more manageable through the better management and design of waste systems through user, business, and technological interaction. Another key principle is that of tactical urbanism, whereby smaller scale interventions that are simple in nature yet complex when successfully considered focus on fostering local interest and mutual gain. It looks specifically at top-down and bottom-up approaches, where overarching stakeholders and their role, as well as the community and informal realm, have equal parts to play in the design process, as well as improvement processes.
Welcome to the Hope Baptist Church Node, a space where informal trade occurs along the peripheries of the church, producing various technical, material, and organic waste. But the church acts as a separate actor, a witness to the street rather than an active engager. As we enter the urban context, we can identify the following constraints and opportunities. Residents already collect old clothing. Existing systems thrive in fluidity. Existing informal food and fashion vendors. Vast amounts of underutilized space. Already established relationships between church and the community. Homelessness. Keeping the fluidity and freedom of choice within the space. The barrier between church and street. A sense of ownership and sacredness of space around the church as it is kept clean. A context summary highlights this node as a transient network of people and skills moving through capillary streets and Robert Sobukwe towards the church. It is predominantly pedestrian focused, with an established ritual of placemaking by informal vendors in the church's adjacent spaces. There is already a community-based sense of identity through how people gather, what spaces they occupy, and how they behave. But it is noteworthy that the church has an independent identity and community through its religious ties.
Stakeholders have a vested interest in an organization. It is important to know who they are and how they are impacted, as they are invested in your success and failure. By looking at stakeholders, we can strengthen our proposal. Stakeholders can invest money, time, passion, expertise, products, and services. It is thus important as an entity to keep stakeholders in mind with discussions and decisions. Within a church setup, there are three main stakeholder groups we look at. First, the church and community, then businesses, and lastly, non-profit organizations. When we look at the Hope Baptist Center, the present church and community stakeholders include the congregation, staff, volunteers, ministers, community and employee family members, as well as recipients of donations and outreach initiatives. When we look at the church's current zoning, it is clear that they are currently only active within the church's fenced grounds. There are initiatives such as youth and children engagement, as well as education enhancement. Although the church is community-based, there doesn't seem to be direct contact and engagement within the areas outside the fence. At the Hope Baptist Center, there is an existing NGO on site, namely Participate, Envision, Navigate, or PEN for short. They identify people stuck in poverty, provide support, teach new skills, and help recipients thrive in society. Their main focus groups are children, youth, and vulnerable adults. At the Hope Baptist Centre, they have youth ministry, arts, and sports initiatives. They also support the education and outreach done by the church stakeholders. When looking at pen on the church grounds through zoning, we see that they are currently also restricted to the fenced grounds, with their main base being the youth ministry building, where they receive volunteers and donations, as well as engage in educational support to the church. In order to bridge the gap between the church's grounds and community engagement, we decided to look at a stakeholder that can operate in a business setup and revitalize the surrounding areas of the fenced grounds. We thus looked at Tshwane Leadership Group. They're a community organization that specializes in inclusive urban transformation. Along with their partners, Institute for Urban Ministry, who seek the spiritual and social renewal of the city, and Yeast City Housing, who is a social housing company in Tshwane dedicated to urban regeneration through social inclusion and well-managed housing. They will be key in bridging the gap and expanding the church into Sunnyside. Through zoning, we propose that Tshwane Leadership Group can provide vendors with business enhancement training, setting them up for long-term success, as well as food drives in order to engage respectfully with those in need. Through their partners, Yeast City Housing, we propose an initiative that would help the homeless population currently residing in front of the grocery store across the church. By using the church as an anchor point, they can also then provide support by allowing stopgap boarding for emergency cases till they can be placed in housing. Combining these three stakeholders, we reach a predicted zoning of engagement. This setup allows three entities to work together and have interdepartmental collaboration. By including Tshwane Leadership Foundation, the church will receive support and guidance in order to expand their impact into the community, bridging the boundary set by the limitations of their infrastructure.
Now that we have an understanding of our node through identified opportunities and constraints and its relevant stakeholders and how they can influence the space, we identified a problem statement. There is a disconnect between existing community waste programs and church infrastructure that prevents continued growth of a mutually beneficial circular economy. The preconceptions around these private, public, and sacred spaces leads to the church being underutilized as a potential driver for meaningful interactions and partnerships. The church grounds are busiest on Sunday, where church services sometimes start earlier than the specified 11 a.m. time slot. People move freely through the space due to the nature of the worship here, however, they do not linger long after the services. Waste pickers work every day and often sweep past the church to maintain clean grounds, but move onto the spray to sort out their collectibles, which currently pollutes the spray. The existing condition shows a main density of activity by the liquor and grocery store to the left of the church. Here the main byproducts of use are broken crates and other technical waste, including plastics, cans, used glass bottles, and cardboard boxes from food packaging. The informal vendors are able to feed off of the existing gathering occurring outside the liquor store. Clothing drop-offs were also observed at the church. It's a very flexible occurrence, and the space is always accessible for the drop-offs on Sundays, but only on appointment during the week. This observation links directly to the necessity-driven circular economic practices, specifically that of reuse. With these observations in mind, our proposal focuses on the existing activity around the church to see where value can be co-created to create community partnerships. We envisage a space where locals can engage with the church on a level beyond the act of worship, and information can be shared between these role players and the identified stakeholders. This will be done through adapting the current public interface, where users in the church create value through the management of waste and encounter processes are encouraged. 3 key role players were identified, namely the waste pickers, clothing collectors, and fresh produce vendors. As the community has such an intricate system of waste, with many being dependent on it as a form of income in one way or another, it is challenging to impose tertiary ideas or schemes. This is why we chose to closely map and understand their relationships on site and their role in the community. In understanding this, we can propose extensions into further aiding relationships, such as the relationship between clothing collection drives and tailors. We can also start to propose new branches, where vendors can recontextualize their waste through potential skills development programs, where individuals skilled in sewing can assist with upcycling. There is also an opportunity to have a better understanding of the source of their produce by giving back to local farmers and learning about how to compost their waste. Strategies to combat our ever-increasing waste generated by our take-make-waste economy is imperative. A staggering 100 billion items of clothing are produced annually, and 50% of fast fashion pieces are disposed of within a year, and only 13% is recycled. While South Africa is one of the leaders in plastic recycling, with approximately 46% of our plastic waste being recycled in 2019, large amounts still end up polluting water sources. Here, we have the opportunity to strengthen the circular mindsets that exist out of necessity in Sunnyside through redirecting waste outputs and recontextualizing them in a way that meaning can exist beyond economics. Clothes are currently dropped off at the church, where it is redistributed to those in need without further intervention. We propose drop-off bins that the church provides on the grounds that can be moved and locked into place with lockable casters. These bins can also be used as sorting or selling tables. The bins' contents are checked every day by the church stakeholders, and the clothes are then redistributed to tailors and upcyclers who can give them a second life. The byproducts of the upcycling can furthermore be processed into stuffing for craft initiatives such as mattress making for the homeless, encouraged by a pen stakeholder. Once all products have come to an end-of-life state, they can get recollected by the church and then redistributed to fiber recycling centres. Byproducts of post-consumer consumption can be delivered and sorted at the church, where upcyclers can collaborate with waste pickers to treat these materials. They can upcycle or reuse them, and a mutually beneficial relationship can be encouraged, as sorting for waste pickers is made more accessible through the provided bins, and the church and upcyclers can assist in bringing safe, sanitary working conditions and a means of using that which is often discarded.
For our president, we decided to look at Warwick Junction. It lies in the heart of Durban and accommodates almost 500,000 commuters and at least 6,000 informal traders daily. Through this president, we will look at how infrastructure, alongside interdepartmental engagement, can support and institute a successful community. The junction consists of 9 unique markets surrounding the Berea train station, with community, commerce, health and education nodes surrounding it. Looking at sections through 2 of the markets, we can see how the improved infrastructure conditions contribute to humane working conditions and emphasizes the individuality, vibrancy and excitement of the markets. In order to ensure successful urban regeneration, the market looked at 9 basic principles. We aim to include at least 5 of them in our design, namely, Day 1 stakeholder engagement, protect and provide jobs, improved mobility, creating an exciting urban space, and improved quality of life. In order to make the process of regeneration run smoothly, the market took 6 short-term actions as soon as the project started. They made sure to wash down sidewalks around the market, train station, and public land daily. They swept trash on all public walkways and parks around the market daily. They held a public town hall meeting with the community and executives to inform everyone about the redevelopment. They fixed infrastructure and informed the community about permanent changes. They assigned more police patrol to the district to introduce themselves to the community and expand their presence to 7 at night. And lastly, they assigned a designated city staff member to act as a liaison between the community and program executives. The market also focused on 6 major infrastructure changes in order to make the space more inclusive and humane. They increased pedestrian walkways in order to increase mobility. They performed a comprehensive spatial design. They provided water and electricity connections for vendors. They improved trading conditions inside structures, but also provided street vendors with shelter and tables. They provided vendors with safe storage to improve security of their setups. And finally, they also provided the traders with business enhancements that included training on health and safety regulations, such as the upkeep and use of the public ablutions.
Our proposal aims to strengthen the existing relationships found in and around the church. Through analysing our findings, we can propose a spatial intervention that buffers the existing barrier between the community, street, and church. As a quick overview, there is a great activity around the church, with many vendors using the sidewalks, while waste pickers keep the grounds clean. Tailors, cobblers, and clothing drop-offs were also observed in and around the church. Movement into the church grounds is restricted, with little to no activity occurring on the grounds during the week. There is a disconnect between the street and the church. With the church being fenced off, it creates a harsh boundary line, with hidden activities occurring inside. Informal vendors use the sidewalks, which are clean but have no adequate infrastructure to accommodate their rituals. Our proposal aims to bridge the gap between the sidewalk and the church through softening the transition within the approximate 1.5 meter plinth which the church sits on, while still keeping circulation space along the sidewalk. Eating slightly into the grounds, the church lends itself to the street, welcoming the community and its activities. Creating a buffer zone helps keep the church as a sacred space, but allows for free-flowing movement around the perimeter of the grounds. Our proposal is a set of inhabitable stairs that replaces the church's perimeter boundaries. We welcome the existing rituals of the vendors, cobblers, and pedestrians through pushing and pulling conventional stair types to provide adequate space for selling, sitting, and circulation. Shading structures and greenery aid in the well-being of all who use the space. Weekdays play host to the day-to-day vendors and passerbys, while the church opens up its facilities to stakeholders who host community enrichment workshops. Once a month, on a Saturday, a market provides a platform for the community vendors and tailors to showcase and sell their creations. This incentivizes the community to continue attending workshops and utilize the space provided, as well as the church to continue strengthening existing outreach programs. Here we can see our proposed changes. Inhabitable stairs with varying levels and widths accommodate the rituals of all users. Having a combination of ramps and stairs allows for ease of access. A sorting space brings together community members and stakeholders, and greenery and community-built trading structures soften the transition and give the community a sense of belonging. With our proposed infrastructure changes in mind, we can now look at partially rezoning and allocating our stakeholders to achieve maximum impact on the community. Using the church as an anchor point, we can overlay different activities through interdepartmental cooperation. The church group and PEN will work together to support the youth and children of the community through education, training, and outreach programs. Tshwane Leadership and their partners will become facilitating entities by providing business enrichment training to the vendors in Sunnyside, ensuring the safety and security of their livelihoods. They will also act as liaison for the church with the government, helping them obtain permits for the street markets and street vendors, as well as facilitating the waste pickers collaboration in terms of sorting and incentivizing facility use. The new infrastructure, combined with multi-stakeholder collaboration, creates a community-centered focus on the upliftment of the community of Sunnyside.
Culminating all of our role players, we can see that the intervention plays host to reconnecting the community with the church and stakeholders. This intervention aims to empower the community and strengthen already established circular economic practices by providing adequate spaces, resources, and relationships with people in power. During the week, our stay intervention facilitates vendors, upcyclers, and community members to engage within Sunnyside and the church. The stairs and overhead shading provide more comfortable working environments for the vendors to sell in, whilst the new open church grounds provide ample opportunity for community collaboration. The open intervention spaces also provide the community with the ability to individualize their area and emphasize the sense of a vibrant, transient community. By providing a designated facility, the stakeholders are able to collaborate with waste pickers to reduce the amount of waste stored and left at the sprate. This is also incentivized to the waste pickers by providing them access to the existing church facilities, like wash-up spaces and the dining hall. The space also includes bins for recyclable donations from the community that are sorted by volunteers. Adjacent to the sorting area, we find the youth zone. This zone has many activities, but include educational workshops on waste sorting and recycling. This is strengthened by waste workshops offered to the community taking place behind the main church building. The stairs also form an exhibition of upcyclers and their skills. There is a strong focus on customization, where people can fix, upcycle, or buy products specially tailored to them, giving a voice to self-expression and self-betterment. It doubles up as a drop-off and collection zone, where the community can make use of the space wherever it is most convenient to them, without having to have to make appointments with the church or stakeholders. Through these movable drop-off bins, sorting is already facilitated, as all the bins will be marked and specified, making it easy for the role players to make use of the byproducts. The focus of the exhibition space is thus on repair and upcycling.
The church is providing space for collaboration and integration as service. The bins are the product and eases sorting to benefit the waste pickers and tailors from the clothing collectors. By the waste pickers using space on site, they can share their knowledge with the other skills being developed on site. We are proposing that with the existing clothing donations, items be collected, sorted, and then repaired or upcycled. Similarly, certain wastes from the waste pickers can be upcycled as well. The space becomes a collaborative system between existing role players, whereby ownership is encouraged and overseen by the church, and value is so co-created, where voices and needs will be heard and met, and the church can maintain its ethos while being an active engager with the street. Through the system, value will be added economically, socially, environmentally, and benefit interactions in the following ways. The flexible entrepreneurial spirit of upcycling, reusing, and repurposing waste enables small-scale economic growth, which has the potential to grow into the implementation of more formalized systems. Individually skilled users are able to interact with others and share skills. Thus, the proposal spans from user to society system growth. Material and technical waste is reused or repurposed in an effort to slow or narrow resource loops, ultimately benefiting the environment. The ownership of bins, along with church and stakeholder partnerships, increase interaction between community members and all who plays a part in the formal and informal sector within the area. The result is self-betterment, large-scale economic and personal financial gain, better community relations, a sense of belonging, and the reduction of major waste types which is normally misdirected, ultimately creating a healthy, sociable environment and a circular economy facilitated through mutual gain.